If the universe had a point, how would you know what it was? What philosopher, physicist, sage, or poet could tell you? However wise, they're stuck inside the same universe you are, working from the same limited vantage point. Yeah, their guesses might be better than yours, but they're still guesses. You've got no guarantee their answers are any closer to the truth than the ones you came up with on your own. And yet we desperately need answers. I need to know the purpose of all of this. I need to know my place in it. Now, when I'm faced with a painting I can't make sense of, I find it useful to read the little plaque next to it. There's often a statement from the artist about what they were trying to do. Now, of course, artists can't know everything, even about their own work, but knowing what they were trying to say is pretty useful. So here's the question. Where's the little plaque hanging next to the whole universe? Welcome back to Beyond the Black Box. Now, before you can get any satisfaction out of anyone's answer to the big questions, who am I, why am I here, what's the purpose of the whole world, we have to be comfortable with where the answers are coming from. People claiming such answers are never original. Well, occasionally a great thinker has a profound realization from seemingly nowhere, the way I suppose the Buddha reached enlightenment, but the rest of the time, we're standing on someone else's shoulders. Nothing new under the sun. That means our answers almost always rest on something external to ourselves, a book, a math teacher, universal common sense, the History Channel. And the confidence we place in that source is determined by how credible we think it is. When my neighbor Wentworth, names changed to protect the innocent, when Wentworth claims to have had a vision, that feels very different to me than the visions of the ancient prophets Isaiah or Ezekiel, which feel very different again from the celebrity agnostic on NPR denying that visions happen at all. So where do you get the most reliable answers, the deep truths all other truths depend on? Trial and error, an ancient book, a microscope, a conspiracy theorist? The first thing you have to understand is that everyone, everywhere, starts with things they cannot prove. Yes, everyone. Now, they may never think about it consciously, but everybody holds some deep belief they can't demonstrate to scientific or philosophical standards. And not because they're lazy or stupid. It's just how knowledge works. I mean, how would a philosopher prove that logic works without using logic? How would a mathematician prove that math is sound without using equations? People have to assume some foundational things are true and then just go out and try to live by them. The philosopher trusts his logic. The scientist trusts her instruments. If life seems to work out, they take it as evidence their starting beliefs were good ones. But if life goes splat, and if they're at all the reflective type, they begin to question those assumptions and probably endure a personal crisis. But eventually they'll modify their foundational beliefs or adopt new ones to cope with the parts that didn't work. You know, the Christian becomes an atheist, the alcoholic gives up the bottle, the carnivore goes vegan, the CrossFitter, well, they never change. But the new assumptions are ultimately just as unprovable as the previous ones. The hope is only that they'll work out better. This means that everybody, everywhere, has faith in something. Some basic beliefs simply have to be taken for granted or you can't go any further. Now, people usually reserve a word like faith for religious people, but even hardcore skeptics take plenty on faith too. Take our token skeptic, my neighbor Wentworth. He says, I can only trust what I can see. Yeah, that's how he talks. But what he's really saying is that information from the senses is more reliable than other kinds. Like seeing is believing. Well, or if he's more sophisticated, he speaks instead of the certainty of the scientific method, which amounts to the same claim, since science itself rests on trusting the senses. But here's the question for Wentworth. How would one prove eyes are reliable? If eyes are simply a product of evolutionary development, well, then truth was never the goal. Survival was. Those two might overlap sometimes, accidentally, but it's not guaranteed. And nature doesn't care about truth, just passing on your genes. That leaves our skeptic in an odd spot, trusting his senses because they seem to work exactly the thing he set out to prove. It's circular. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree that barring disease or injury, eyes generally are reliable, and for two reasons. First, the same reason Wentworth would claim. because we use them constantly in this world and they generally produce reliable results. But as a Christian, I have a second reason, though it too rests on one of these assumed beliefs. I believe eyes were designed with this particular universe in mind. The same one who made the eye also made the universe and made them to work together. That's my warrant for trusting eyes, and it's a confidence my skeptical neighbor can't have on the basis of his own starting place, random chance plus time. Now, of course, I can't prove this scientifically either. That would require my eyes, and again beg the question. So we're both starting with something we can't prove. My only advantage is that my explanation, a common designer of both the universe and the eye, actually explains why eyes are reliable, whereas his just assumes they are. You tell me which answer is more coherent. This is the trouble with every answer to the big basic questions, not just religious ones, scientific ones too. None can be proven by our senses or our minds, because our senses and our minds are part of the very universe we're trying to figure out. There's no way to get outside the universe to check our answers objectively, and no other universes to compare this one to. It's like trying to write an essay titled, "Words Don't Exist." Now, I say all of this not because I'm about to offer proof that a creator God exists. No, I'm not going to rewarm Anselm's ontological argument here. But since you brought him up, Anselm of Canterbury has probably said this better than anyone else in the history of thought. In a prayer to God in his Proslogion, he says, "For I do not seek to understand so that I may believe, but I believe so that I may understand. For I believe this also, that unless I believe, I shall not understand." Now, we modern types tend to believe in something after we've seen the evidence. Yeah, that's the scientific method. Well, fair enough most of the time. But some things must be believed before we can ever hope to understand them. And these are almost always the more important things. So, Wentworth, let's be good to each other and not demand of one another what neither of us could possibly provide. Now, I belabor this point because it is vital for you to understand the existence of such a creator is one of my starting places. Oh yeah, I have a stack of reasons I could give for it, but you'd quickly recognize that they're just like Wentworth's reasons for trusting his eyes. They all come a posteriori, after the fact. I arrive at them after I've already assumed God's existence by going out in the world and using the very mind I claimed God designed. Woohoo! So all I'm doing in this episode is naming the basic controlling beliefs I think offer the best answers to the big questions about life, the universe, and everything. If you don't hold these assumptions, fine. But you have to allow me to hold them since they're the only ones by which I can make sense of the world. So then, how did I find my answers? Well, when it comes to the point of the whole universe, I know of only one kind of source that could possibly give a workable answer, and it can't be the universe itself or anything in it. The universe didn't come with an instruction manual or a plaque with an artist's statement. In fact, if it did, that would just prove my point. The only one who could declare with any confidence the point of the universe or my place in it would have to be someone outside it, someone beyond our own little black box of a universe. No one inside has sufficient perspective. Cartoon characters know nothing of animation. For that, you need the animator, who, you'll notice, is not in the cartoon. Well, usually. So, ta-da! So, here are my two basic controlling assumptions for everything that follows on this channel. First, all of this, myself included, only exists because a creator made it so. And second, this creator has, in fact, spoken in any number of ways for the purpose of answering our most important questions. In fact, the 20th century theologian Francis Schaeffer wrote 2 books making roughly this case and titled them accordingly, He is There and He is There and Is Not Silent. These two assumptions mean that if I want to know the point of this whole thing, I'll have to take somebody else's word for it, trust something outside myself, even when my own experience seems to say otherwise. Think of a doctor telling you that you have a cancerous tumor, even though you feel fine. You can either believe the doctor and take the medicine, or trust how you feel and take your chances. I'll grant this comparison has limits. I mean, you can always get another doctor's opinion, whereas here, it's take it or leave it. But the underlying principle holds. Sometimes someone else's information has to override how you feel. I know that sounds scary. Taking someone else's word over your own senses feels counterintuitive, even negligent. But consider how few of the things you already believe are the result of your own actual investigation. You believe most countries in the world exist not because you've seen them yourself, but because of the news or maps, neither of which are beyond forgery. Almost everything you know about the solar system you believe because some NASA probe sent back a signal or because someone like Galileo was good at math. Nearly everything you claim to know, you know on the basis of trust in someone else, a teacher, a biologist, an old book, a wise uncle, Wikipedia. So I am not trying to play a trick on you. I am not asking you to do anything we don't already do constantly. Claiming to know anything worth knowing about the world means admitting you're trusting somebody. And the bigger and harder the question, the deeper the trust demanded of us. I mean, if all you want is John Lennon's birthday, yeah, Wikipedia will do. But if you want to know the meaning of the whole ball of wax, who can you trust that much? Cicero? Einstein? Yeah, they were brilliant. But brilliance doesn't get you outside the universe. They were working with the same limited vantage point as the rest of us. That's why I suggest that the most promising source for an answer we can actually live with has to be a voice from beyond. From one who, although all else moves, is not itself moved. Yeah, I did just trot out Aristotle's unmoved mover. Sue me. In the end, if I want to know the reason for the universe or my place within it, I'm going to have to look to something like God and then take God's word for it. If you don't like the divine answers, well, that's fine. But then you're back to looking for another trustworthy source, and I'm just no help to you. Now, I know this because I tried it. I spent a stretch of my life trying to build my own meaning from nothing, demanding that the universe submit to some structure of my own devising. And after the hardest and most miserable struggle of my life, I found I'd succeeded only in wrecking my own life and those of many others. Self-deception, depression, and a grinding solitude were my reward. Now, if you think you can do better on your own, hey, go for it. I wish you the best of luck. But when you reach the end of your rope, come on back. I'll still be here, and we can weep over your losses together. Human nature is fickle. It's like the tide, in and out, endlessly moving. But I believe there is one who does not move, who waits patiently for us to run out of rope and then invites us back home, bloodied and bruised, to see the world through a new set of eyes. If you could see the world through the right set of eyes, you could be at peace anywhere. No matter what this crazy universe threw at you, you'd know where you belong. No, I've said that badly. You'd know to whom you belong. And we'd finally stop feeling like Arthur Dent in The Hitchhiker's Guide, thrown from world to world with nothing but a towel, searching for an earth he already knows has been destroyed. No, not for me. St. Augustine knew better. In the opening to his spiritual autobiography, he wrote those unforgettable words. You have made us for yourself, and our hearts will be ever restless till they rest in you. Okay, my question for you. Who do you trust on the biggest questions? An ancient prophet, modern skeptic, your own gut? God help you, your Uncle Wentworth? Drop it in the comments. And maybe more importantly, has there ever been a season where you tried to be your own final authority? Built your own meaning from scratch, no outside voice allowed? How'd it go? Good or bad? And if any of this was useful, a like helps more people find the channel, and subscribing means you won't miss where we go next. because we're just getting started. See you next time.